Hello everyone! So what happened to Jax in the third episode of Glitch Productions' Amazing Digital Circus? That's a very interesting question. In this video, we're going to talk about Jax and try to find the answer to that question. And I'm glad you're watching my channel again, where I tell you the most amazing secrets of the digital circus and make the most unexpected assumptions and hypotheses that are starting to come true. Click subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Sit back, and here we go. So we're all used to Jax being a brash, smug, egotistical, arrogant, and even a bit rude rabbit by now. He constantly mocks the other characters and demonstrates his superiority. Remember how he stomps on Gangle's mask, scratches his back with Zubal's severed arm, and pushes a terrified Kinger down a black hole with a bowling ball. To further demonstrate his superiority, he has given almost all of the characters their own nicknames. At the same time, Jax constantly displays his smile, showing that everything he does gives him great pleasure and increases his good mood. With all his behavior, Jax demonstrates that he is not locked up in the circus with everyone else, but that everyone is locked up in the circus with him. It's also been noted that Jax has a fairly stable psyche, and no one considers him a pretender to abstraction. We also saw that Jax knows, or guesses, that Kane's adventures are absolutely not dangerous for the circus characters, which means one can have fun during the adventures without any restrictions. This is exactly what Jax demonstrates. In the behavior and in the words of the characters of the digital circus, one can see the discouragement of the hopelessness of their situation in the circus. But Jax acts as if he is in his own home. He's fine with everything, or almost everything. At the end of the second episode, he says that he misses the thrill of Kane's adventures. And now, in the third episode, we see the same never dull and selfish Jax. He again tries to bully Pomni and taunts Ragatha. Once at Mildenhall Manor, he unexpectedly scares Pomni and as usual enjoys it. He hasn't forgotten about Gangle either. Jax humiliatingly rips off Gangle's mask and throws her mask at the door that Ghostly called scary. Still the same arrogant and egotistical Jax. And while we were breathlessly watching the horrific adventures of Pomni and Kinger, something clearly happened to the rest of the characters. And when we were shown them, we saw Ragatha and Gangle peacefully drinking tea with Martha Mildenhall. Jax isn't at the table. It turns out he's sitting in the corner of the room tied up with ropes, and his mouth taped shut with scotch. So what could have happened? How could it have happened that a cocky and arrogant rabbit ended up in such a humiliating position? It's very surprising. We might have expected anything from Jax, but not this. Perhaps Jax didn't expect his part in the adventure to end this way either. The first thing to assume is that Jax, Ragatha, and Gangle quietly walked through another door that Ghostly called a normal door. And Kane gave that door a rating, wow, for all ages. Which means there's nothing to be afraid of. That's probably what Jax thought. But suddenly, out of the blue, he saw the ghost of Martha Mildenhall. But Jax wasn't scared when he saw the Ghostly. Jax pulled him into the vacuum cleaner. But let's remember how the cute little Ghostly appeared. The first second we see the intimidating beast. The sight of it made Pomni's eyes pop out. And so much so that they didn't go back into place afterward. Perhaps Martha Mildenhall's ghost appeared in the same way. But as the ghost of Martha Mildenhall is much larger than the Ghostly, then at her first appearance, Jax, Ragatha, and Gangle saw a terrible monster of huge size. Perhaps that's the kind of defense the good ghosts at Mildenhall's Manor have. But it was enough to frighten Jax, as he had never been frightened before. You may remember me saying in past videos that nothing in Amazing Digital Circus is random. We saw the scene where Pomni tells Ragatha that she don't really handle jump scares that well, and then Jax gives her a sharp scare. Maybe the same scene happened to Jax. He was happy that Kinger and Pomni flew into the scary door and calmly opened another door. Suddenly, the huge, toothy, horrible ghost of Martha Mildenhall pounced on him. The next thing everyone saw was the perfectly nice and calm ghost of Martha Mildenhall. But that was enough to scare Jax to death. Now let's recap the first scene from the third episode again. When Pomni asked Jax how he reacts to holding his breath, Zubul said that Jax is a coward and therefore doesn't want to show everyone his reaction. To which Jax replied, "I want to keep the mystery alive." What's his mystery? It's possible that Jax's reaction is very strange, and it's possible that his reaction to being scared is also very strange. No one's ever seen Jax scared before, and we don't know his reaction to being scared. It's possible that when Jax gets scared, he gets very hysterical. He may be shouting nonsense loudly and flailing his arms and legs frantically. That's why RAGATHA GANGLE and Martha Mildenhall tied Jax up to keep him quiet, and then sat down at the table to have tea and a nice conversation. But earlier in my Jax video, I speculated that Jax knows a great deal about Kane's adventures in the digital circus. It's very possible that he knows that all of Kane's adventures are ultimately not dangerous to the characters in the digital circus. We saw Jax arrogantly talking to the glowing queen with Kinger, and Gangle being terrified of her. We also saw Jax talking absolutely calmly to the Fudge, who was much bigger than him. That said, Ragatha was scared that the Fudge was going to eat her. In the third episode, when Ghostly showed up and scared Pomni, Jax stood absolutely unfazed. You could even see some displeasure on his face, so he couldn't have been scared of Martha Mildenhall's ghost either. But then who tied him up and how? Perhaps when they went through the other door, Jax wanted to drag the ghost of good-natured Martha Mildenhall into the vacuum cleaner as well as Ghostly. And if you watched carefully in the third episode, you noticed that Ragatha was very dissatisfied with Jax's pranks. Whereas before she asked Jax not to do that in the third episode, she was stopping Jax with obvious irritation. And when he pulled Ghostly into the vacuum cleaner, Ragatha had already yelled at Jax. We can see that Ragatha's patience had ended. And maybe when Jax wanted to pull the ghost of good-natured Martha Mildenhall into the vacuum cleaner, Ragatha couldn't stand it and did something to Jax. Maybe she beat him up and then tied him up. That's probably why we weren't shown that scene. It was probably a little violent. Maybe that's why Ragatha didn't untie Jax after they left Martha Mildenhall's room. There was no one there in the hall to be afraid of. They already wanted to get out of the adventure, but Jax remained tied up. But Ragatha is by nature very kind and caring, so she herself took the bound Jax on the cart. She did not hold any grudge against Jax. She just wanted to teach the cheeky and selfish rabbit a lesson. And my earlier guesses that Jax is the most controversial and at the same time charismatic character of the digital circus are still valid. I've also previously speculated that maybe Jax wants to be a hero in his heart, but he's still afraid. Perhaps deep down in his soul, there is a fear that he will later overcome with the help of other characters of the digital circus, for example, with the help of Ragatha. Perhaps in the future, Jax will want to improve himself, and Ragatha and Pomni will help him to do it. What do you think about it? Please write to me in the comments of the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click subscribe to the channel and put a like. Watch my channel. And look forward to more reviews of the third episode. As always, it will be interesting and mind-blowing. Take care of yourselves, and don't make Ragatha angry.